Hello friends, I expect you all are preparing very well for the exam. So let's go to today's questions now. A man with blood group AB, isn't it? AB marries a woman with blood group O. What are the possible blood groups in the progeny? So point to remember is about codominance, right? Codominance is to be remembered. Okay, now one of the very important features about blood group antigens is that it is actually coded by multiple genes. So the same gene has multiple alleles over here. So the alleles are IA, IB and small I. So you have more than or equal to 3 alleles here. 3 alleles are present, isn't it? It is more than 2. So this is called by the name of multiple allelism. Normally a gene has two alleles, isn't it? Two forms are present. But here three forms are present. IA, IB and small I. So this is called as multiple allelism. Now what is codominance? These are equally dominant. IA and IB are equally dominant, and whenever it is there with this small I, this is recessive. This is recessive while both of these are equally dominant. The question that you normally get for codominance is a condition where in codominance the F1 progeny resembles both the parents. Okay, this is a very important sentence. I have directly taken it from NCERT. I have seen this question coming a lot of times in all exams that you write, all practice tests, even in the NEET exam. So the condition where the F1 progeny resembles both parents is codominance. Mark it now itself in the textbook and again read it before the NEET exam, which is about to come in another week, right? So let's proceed to the solution of this question now. Man with blood group AB. So his blood group is IAIB, isn't it? This is the blood group of the man. So yeah, let me place this as this is the male marries a woman with blood group O. So this will be II. This is the blood group O. No other combinations are possible. What are the possible blood groups of the progeny? So let me write, this is the woman, isn't it? Let me write the progenies now. We'll just combine it in all permutation combination possible. So this can be IA, I, IB, I. Only these are possible over here, isn't it? So this is blood group A and this is blood group B. Fine. So yeah, for this question, my answer is option number 4. Remember, multiple allelism, codominance, both are there in blood grouping. Okay, and in AB blood group, see this is AB, isn't it? This is AB blood group. Here you can typically see the codominance here. Both are dominant, and your F1 progeny is resembling both parents. It is equivalent to saying that it is both A and B together, right? So let's go to the next question now. See, next question is just a catch point is there, nothing more than that. See, how many true breeding pea plants are needed for performing a tri-hybrid cross? How many true breeding pea plants are needed for performing a tri-hybrid cross? First of all, what is this true breeding? It is continuously self. Okay, selfing has been done. Self-pollination has been done for many a times, right? So then you will get a true breeding plant. Okay, so this is there in the NCERT textbook. Please understand what is a true breeding plant. A lot of selfing has to be done and then you will get a true breeding plant. Pure allele has to be made in that particular case. So I'm not explaining much about this. True breeding plant is there. The explanation is there in the textbook. Now, how many plants are required to perform a tri-hybrid cross? Just tell me. This is such a simple question. They are simply asking to make a progeny, how many parents are required? You should have one male parent and one female parent. In case of a pea plant, you have two parents. One will act as the male and the other will act as the female. One will produce the pollen and this pollen has to be transferred to another plant, and that the female sex organs will work, and then progeny is produced as a result of that. To produce a progeny, you require two parents, isn't it? In dioecious organisms, or in a case where sexes are separate. And in again in pea plants also, you require two pea plants to produce one single parent. So how many are required? Answer will be 2 itself. Answer is 2. Now, what is tri-hybrid cross? See, you know, lots and lots of characters. N number of characters are there in a human being, in a pea plant, in any organism on this planet. You have large number of enormous number of characters that this particular plant is exhibiting, this particular animal is exhibiting. So it is not possible for you to study all the characters, all the inheritance of the characters in one go. Right? So what do? We will select one character at a time. You will select two characters at a time. We will select three characters at a time. So if you are studying three characters at a time, you will perform a trihybrid cross. That's it. You are crossing two plants, and in the progeny you will just see for three characters, and you are just analyzing the three characters which are present over there. Any three characters which you have selected, and you will study about only those three characters. You will not care about any other characters. That's it. Now, how many blade plants are needed for performing a trihybrid cross? Just two. Just two plants are needed. You cross it and you will get a new plant. That's all. Now, what is trihybrid cross? Three characters are considered. Dihybrid cross, two characters are considered. Monohybrid cross, one character is considered. That's it. It is just a way of studying it. That's all. But to produce an offspring, you require two parents. It is a very basic question just to confuse you in all those kind of exams. Let's go to the next question now. Now take a look at this question now. Right. In 44 plus XO, this is actually the Turner syndrome. Okay. And this patient is a female. Right. And this female will be having lack of secondary sexual characteristics. And this female is having a streak ovaries. What do you call this? Rudimentary ovaries, so streak ovaries. Now tell me what is the problem here. See, 46 chromosomes are there. So I will write this as 46 chromosomes. And this female, I mean not 46 actually, 45 chromosomes. So this patient is having 44 chromosomes that are autosomes, and if you see the allosomes now, there is one X chromosome, and in place of another X chromosome, there is no X chromosome, isn't it? So there is no X chromosome, there is no Y chromosome also. So there is one chromosome which is actually missing here. Okay, and this is a female. This patient is a female, but just see, for a female to be a complete female, she should be having one more X chromosome. But here, this female is lacking one X chromosome. So this patient is a female, but this patient is not a complete female in a way. All the characteristics of a female will be absent over there. So this is called by the name of Turner syndrome. And this female is lacking secondary sexual characteristics. Because what makes a female is this two X chromosomes, but one of them is missing here. So you can just remember in that particular way, something is missing due to which this person is not a complete female in a way. Right? As per the anatomical part, this person is not a complete female, and she is having streak ovaries, or you can call it as rudimentary ovaries. This is non-functional. Rudimentary ovaries. Right? And so since the ovaries are not working, this particular person will be sterile. Right? So this particular person is a sterile female. Fine. So this is all that we are supposed to know over here. So these many points are there in the textbook. Are fertile? No. This patient is not fertile. Have rudimentary ovaries? Yes. Are sterile is okay. Normal secondary sexual characteristics? No. Lack of secondary sexual characteristics is a characteristic feature of this. This patient is lacking one X chromosome, isn't it? So yeah, complete female development will not be present over there. Have normal and functional ovaries? No, this is wrong. But lack secondary sexual characteristics. Both ovaries are rudimentary ovaries, and this person is going to lack secondary sexual characteristics because this lady is actually devoid of one X chromosomes. One X chromosome, right? So this is also a false statement. So my correct answer is option 2. For this question, I will be marking option 2 as the correct statement. If you see this pedigree now, yes, the given pedigree chart shows the inheritance patterns of which are the following genetic condition, and they have given 4 options over here. So let's actually dig into the 4 options first of all. Myotonic dystrophy, as I was telling you, this patient is going to have some problem with his muscle. Okay, dystrophic muscles will be there, and it is an autosomal dominant inheritance. Autosomal dominant inheritance. Color blindness is X-linked recessive. X-linked recessive. Whenever a disease is X-linked recessive, it is more commonly present in males. Females are mostly carriers. If this female is supposed to be a deceased female, if the female is actually a deceased female, her father should be deceased, but her mother should be at least a carrier. But if mother is also deceased, then obviously this female is supposed to be deceased. But in X-linked recessive, normally almost more than 90% of cases, the female is carrier while male is the mostly affected person. Now, sickle cell anemia is autosomal recessive. Fine. Yeah, glutamic acid to valine, beta chain, sixth position, and all those things. Tay-Sachs disease is beyond your scope. Just remember it is autosomal or recessive. No need to remember Tay-Sachs disease. Nobody is going to ask you Tay-Sachs disease at this level. I'm just erasing this off. No need to remember this. You have the whole MBBS to remember Tay-Sachs disease and a lot of other things like this. Yeah. And you may not see any case of Tay-Sachs disease in your whole lifetime. Okay. So that's the irony of this. Okay then, Tay-Sachs disease, yeah, it's autosomal recessive. Now let's understand this. See, if this is a question, just understand how they have said this. Two options cannot be correct. So this is not my answer, this is also not my answer. Why? Because both of them are actually equal. This is also autosomal recessive, this is also autosomal recessive. Then it is not my answer. Okay, color blindness is X-linked recessive. Color blindness is X-linked recessive. Males are mostly affected, but females are carriers here. But see how many females are affected over here. This female is affected, this is affected, this is affected, she is also affected, she is also affected. Can this be an X-linked recessive disorder? No. I can't ever imagine a condition which is X-linked recessive, which is having such a propensity in female involvement as it is given in our question. So I am just ruling out this option also. So only option that is remaining is option 1. Fine. Right. So now, since we have got the answer now, I am marking this as my correct answer. My answer is option number 1. Now see this once again. Just confirm this and then we'll stop this video. If it is autosomal recessive, let us say that it is autosomal recessive. If it is, had it been autosomal recessive, then this is R, this is small r, only then these two people are, affected. If this is the condition, all progenies, that means this person, this person, this person, and this person should be affected. Because the only combination which is possible from this particular parents is this. Smaller. This is the only possible combination. If this is the only possible combination, then every progeny or every children of these two parents should be having the disease. But I see that this person is not having the disease. This male is not having the disease. So therefore, my this pedigree is not autosomal recessive. So this option is ruled out. This option is also ruled out. Now, as I said, X-linked recessive is not possible over here, isn't it? You will see crisscross inheritance. But here, see how many females are affected. Now it can be only one possibility, that is autosomal dominant. Now let us say that it is autosomal dominant. Let us try to understand how it is made. See, this should be capital R, small r, capital R, small r. If this is autosomal dominant, then both these people should be affected, isn't it? Right. So yeah, this person is smaller. That means this person is not affected. Now all these other people are affected. It can be capital R also. Yeah, that is also possible. Now this is a normal person, this is a normal person. Now see, it is also possible like this, isn't it? This is a normal person and this is a affected person. Now here, if you make this combination, smaller, capital R, smaller, this is also possible. Now with the concept of autosomal dominant, I could write the genotype of every person which is present in this particular pedigree. So yeah, I am going with autosomal dominant. That's it. So with that, I am coming to the end of this video. In the next video that will be releasing tomorrow, we will look at another 4 questions over here. I hope genetics is one of the topic that you are actually requesting a lot of videos and questions, isn't it? Yeah, normally you will get 1 or 2 questions in the exam. Yeah, that can be easily solvable also. So yes, this is what I am planning to tell you in this particular video. All the very best for your preparation. Thank you.